Hey, great day, great day. We are going to go ahead and this is going to be really, really delightful. I don't even want you all to miss it or be selfish enough and not want to share. So I definitely encourage you all to go ahead and hit like and share. And while you're here, let us know if you're coming in live or if you're catching the replay right now with live. So definitely come in and let us know where you're tuning from. Where are you at? I'm here in the Tampa Bay, Florida area, and I have here with me, and I'll go ahead and introduce you who I have co-hosting with me today. But I definitely want you to take a time and just sprinkle how your week is unfolding and where are you calling me from. And yes, let us know where we're part of Florida or part of the country you're in. And definitely click like and share because we're gonna be breaking through some of the things that you all been talking about. A lot of you all, many people have been talking about, but just unsure on how to break through some of these boundaries. So that's why it is called Breaking Boundaries, and how to go ahead and leverage that to even pursue and growing your career. So super delighted to have you here. Welcome. And now it should be video. So let me go ahead and make sure our video is on. Thank you for sharing that. So there's no video. Should be video. Let me know if you all could see us through video.
There's a graphic up over the video.
Okay, that's a no-brainer. We can go ahead but we still should be in. I believe we're in the video broadcasting. It's just should be the background only. That's all.
It's completely over.
Let me look into. Are you
looking? I'm looking at it on LinkedIn, and there's.
That's okay. So let's go ahead and make it do what it do. Because we definitely want to make sure. Us to stream, so we should be already in. Listen, y'all, we're just basically as any other event. We're going through the technical issues, but that's all right. I just want to make sure that you all are able to see us. Let me know if you're able to see it. I'm also going to go ahead and go into. This is the luxury of having to go through live. So yeah, I only see a black screen. I'm not sure why either. So I'm going to go ahead and stop, and then yeah, because I don't see what I'm. Why is it not showing? Oh, I see what's going on. I see our heads. And then let me.
Go. I think it's in the branding. You just have to turn off the.
I did. Well, at least I thought I did. Let me hit high.
There we are.
Hey. Unbelievable. This is what you're supposed to do beforehand. And here I am. We were just sitting here in the back. Just to kind of give you all some backstory here. We're sitting here going through doing the whole show behind the scenes. We're
the show before the show.
The show before the show. And here we are trying to let you all see who you are talking to. So I appreciate you all embracing us as we're sitting here going through the technicality of it. But meanwhile, I want to go ahead and introduce to you all a phenomenal being. She has been in this space now for at least, from my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, for at least 3 years plus years, but she has 5 years. Okay, see, I'm glad I was getting corrected. And is a life balance coach. And not only that, she has definitely been able to catapult and also utilize her skill, her God-given gifts to help transform and impact the lives of others. I want to introduce you to Trasetta. Go ahead and comment. And for those who don't even know me, y'all already know me. Y'all already know what I do. I've taken mid-level professionals 5+ years and up who just felt undervalued and underutilized in their current career and just looking for ways to be able to stand out as a top talent so that they can be able to attract those premium companies in as little as 48 hours. So enough about that. I just want to be able to share with you all. Trasetta, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to
my pleasure.
Just kind of go through what I've been hearing from many people. We did a survey, and thank you all for those who taken the time to being able to respond to the surveys. And I hear you. We hear you. I truly definitely hear you. Some people don't even know what may be in the way. And as you and I were talking, we started off with, well, for starters, if you are in your career and you're just wondering, well, what am I doing wrong? Because I talk to people every day, and my staff always asks them, hey, whether you like your job or not, or you enjoy your job or not, what is your plan in terms of your career goals? What's next? What's coming up next for you? Maybe sit there and say, you know what? That's a great question. I don't know. Why do you think that, Trasetta? Why do you think that they and then they're like, I do want to grow in my career, but I don't think about that. That's a great question.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of a default that the majority of people fall into, is that they just kind of let life happen to them. So it's not just, they don't just do it in their career, they do it in all aspects of their life. And so what ends up happening is they end up just kind of drifting and letting the
Mm,
waves of life kind of
mhm.
move them around, and then eventually they might see something off in the distance and say, oh, I want to go over there, and then start becoming intentional about moving in that direction rather than having a plan before they even get in the water. And that's really one of the things that I work with my clients about, especially when it comes to work-life balance, is that
Mhm.
intentionality, figuring out what is it that you want out of work and life, your career,
Right.
relationships, literally every aspect of your life. What do you want? Figuring that out. What does it look like? And then let's create that plan that you were talking about to get from where you are today to where you see yourself in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever that may be. And then we reverse engineer that thing so that they
Mhm.
can have a practical plan to take that first step in the direction that they desire to go. Again, it just really
Like
kind
that.
of boils down to um, just this drifting, just taking life as it comes. And it's until we,
Why do you think is that though? That you said a powerful thing, and I almost suspect that and then you all can chime in and put a one in the chat if you all relate to this, where you've been in your role or even in life, and you're just finding yourself almost as though you're in this robotic motion, this mobile motion, and not knowing exactly what is the next chapter in your life, in your career, and your full trajectory, but you're just kind of just flowing through the process. But why? What even, how do you even identify that you're even flowing through that? Like, for one,
life,
you just like,
we,
how do
we
you even identify that first to know that I need some help?
well, a lot of time, unfortunately, a lot of times some sort of major life event happens that forces us to wake up. For example, I'll tell you a little bit of my story. Um, I had a really good life. I had a good career. I was assistant director of outreach for the Florida State University College of Medicine. Enjoyed my job, and had a good marriage, great relationships. Like, life was good. And
Okay.
then I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And when you are faced with
Mm.
your own mortality, it forces you to take a look at life from a different perspective or through a different lens. And
Right.
I realized that I had kind of been sleepwalking through life. And that forced me to look at life differently and to make some changes so that I could live the life that I really desired to live, not just in my relationships and in the kind of periphery, but in my career as well. And
Right.
shortly after is what, I ended up starting my business. And then 2 years ago, going full time in my business. So that really shifted the trajectory of my life and my career. And I think for
Mhm.
a lot of people, that's what happens is they just, they get out of college, if that's the route that they take, or they started
Mhm.
working and they need money, they need a place to live, and you just kind of put your head down, no, nose to the grind, and you keep on working until something disrupts that pattern.
Interesting. So it has to be around maybe having a life event or something coming out of. Well, what if you don't have a life event occur?
It doesn't have
Whereas
to
for
be your life,
me,
right?
like
It
for
doesn't. It
right.
could be someone close to you. I have a friend who is really kind of going through this epiphany process, where there wasn't something that happened to his life, but a high school friend, um, who he had recently gotten back in contact with, passed
Mhm.
away.
Oh wow.
same, they're the same age. And, if I remember correctly, the gentleman had ended up having a heart attack and passed away. And so it wasn't so much something that happened to him, but something that happened to someone within his circle of influence that causes that wake up. So it doesn't have to be something that happens in your life. It could
I
be
like
something
that.
that happens on the periphery, or you could just kind of be looking around at the people around you and realizing that everyone that I'm attached to has the same kind of complaints about their job. They don't love what they're doing. They dread Monday morning, live for Friday evening.
Yeah.
And I don't want to live like this anymore. It doesn't have to be a life event. Unfortunately, that typically ends up being the catalyst for people to start to change.
So what are the one, I would say, I believe, and that's in my opinion, what would be the one main exercise or tool they can leverage to kind of give themselves permission to even open or remove that veil, which you and I were talking about, which is habits?
Mhm.
What habit would you maybe suggest or recommend for in order for someone to see that, you know what, and what's the principle behind that? Do you believe they can be able to tackle with?
I think the number one thing that has really helped me to kind of open up is journaling.
Mm,
That's having a journaling habit is really great because it helps, especially if you do reflective journaling. So at the end of the day, reflect upon your day. And what happens is by documenting it, it puts it front of mind and you can start to see patterns emerge and start to see, you know what? You can look back over the page and say, I've complained about my work life
right? Yes. That story, building
10
up that
of the last
storytelling. Yeah.
15 days,
Mhm.
right? You can start to see those patterns. And once you identify the pattern, then you can start to say, well, I don't like this pattern. What
Okay.
can I do differently? And just that acknowledgement can really start to open you up to the possibility of what could be.
Interesting. I like that. So, another thing that pops up in my head as far as habits, because here's the truth. For one, you and I know that certain, even bad habits can be really good. Especially if you're hanging out with the girls and you can only do but 2 glasses of wine or 2 of your favorite beverage and that's it, or even maybe one. And you might be pushing yourself if you do 2, but you're like, it was so good. And then comes tomorrow, you're like, why did I do that? Right. So, but you want to be able, my point is, what even bad habits that other people might see to be bad, but they're super successful doing it. They see themselves. So my point is, why not find a habit that you may not, that others don't like doing, but yet they are soaring, and now it becomes a lifestyle.
Oh,
Well,
it's because it's the consistency. Right?
yeah,
No
so
matter no
repetition.
matter what you do, if you do it consistently, you're going to see results from it. Now, if it's a bad habit that you're doing consistently, then you're going to see
Well, I call
negative
it
results.
bad is because you maybe don't feel good doing it. Like, there's a good habit where you may, it's just tedious, but then it's identified in your head that it's a bad habit because it's not appeasing you. It's not making you feel good.
I got you.
So
A
now you
habit,
want to, yeah. So
an
now
uncomfortable
successfully,
habit, or
say it one more
right.
time.
So it's not necessarily that the habit itself is negative, but
Right.
it doesn't
Where
feel good. Like exercising.
is that?
Exercising is a great habit.
Right.
And a lot of times it doesn't feel good
Doesn't
in the
feel good.
process. But
Mhm.
we know that doing it consistently creates great results in our physical body.
I
So I
love
get what you're saying now.
the principle of repetition. That to me, I don't think a lot of people even know what that
No.
even is. When I hear, even when you're saying consistency doing what is that some people may not know what the principle of repeating a certain, even though that forms a habit, but how do they even form it so that way it's not conscious. It's like waking up, brushing your teeth. You're not consciously saying, "Oh, I got to put that on my reminder to brush my teeth." It's a true natural habit. So how are they able to form this to where, even though they see others doing it, and they're like, "Gosh, how is she able to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, hit the gym, and stay there for an hour, and she does it like is it?" but it may not be a feel good thing for her, but she knows she's determined, like you said, is now becoming her lifestyle. It's something that she applies every day. But how does the one outside looking in, how do they catch that?
Okay, so we're slipping into my geek out area. So if you need to rein me back in, please feel free to rein me back in. But there's a few things that I want to address when it comes to creating habits. So number one is to, like you mentioned, the brushing your teeth. Whenever you want to start a new habit, figure out what you can match it with that you already do. For example, one of the things that, before I say this, y'all don't judge me, okay? Don't judge me. This is a judgment-free zone. But I have a tendency to not feel like taking my makeup off at bedtime because I know that when I put the water on my face, it's going to wake me up and I'm sleeping. I just want to go to sleep.
Right. Yes. Right? I'm with you.
But that's horrible for your skin. It's horrible for your skin. Yes. And I made a commitment to myself that I wanted to be more consistent in making sure that I take my makeup off and wash my face before I go to bed.
Yes.
So what I created a routine that I do at bedtime. So I wove that into things that I was already doing at the end of the day. And that's called habit stacking. So you're taking something that you already do consistently and tack that on in between the other things that you already do. So it's not like you're creating, having to really think about it. It's just like you're just adding in this one little thing into the routine that you already have. So that's one thing about it. Two, when it comes to building habits, when you're doing something new, what you're having to do is create a new neural pathway in your brain, right? So
when you're saying that, turn it back to them and break it down in layman's term. Like basically,
I'm getting ready to, right? So I'm going to give you a visual. I'm going to give you a visual. So think about creating a new path through a field, right? If there's all this, shrubbery and whatnot, and you're going that way for the very first time, it's difficult to go through, right? Because you got to push all this stuff out of the way, and you might have to go in with a machete to try and clear some things out that first time. And each time you go, you're clearing a little bit more away, and over a period of time, that pathway becomes very developed. It's the same way in our brain. So you end up getting to a place where, yes, in the beginning, it's more challenging, but the more you do it, eventually you get to a place where it becomes second nature. Have you ever been in the car driving somewhere and you're going in the direction of your office, and all of a sudden you find you're not going to your office, but you're just heading in that direction. You're going somewhere else, and you find yourself heading to the office.
Right.
Because you have slipped into autopilot, right? That is because you have a very solidified neural pathway to go in that direction where you don't have to think about it. And it's the same way with developing habits. Eventually you'll get to the place where it will be easy because you have created that pathway and it has solidified in your brain, and you've become, you can go into autopilot mode.
Now let's transition there, because I like the way you're going with this, especially when it comes to the workplace. How are they able, like, for one, your peers, your former peers, how can one who have a lot to give, but just not able to break through that and creating that habit in the workplace? For example, if they have a manager and they're just piling work on top of work on top of work, moving from working 40 to 60 hours. If anybody can relate, I'm pretty sure they will be like raising their hand. I can raise my hand on that. How are they forming or taking what that condition, that framing, that framework that they're accustomed to, that same frame that they've been doing over and over, and now they want to remove it? Like our infamous Albert Einstein, if you do the same thing over and over and over again, what you're doing is just basically creating yourself to be in insanity mode 24/7, right? So share something in that scenario. Well, I know that I'm up to here with piled up work, and I'm not setting any limitation. And though my manager may give me some sort of credibility, but that's very little. Take them. So how do they take from that, moving that needle forward?
It's so interesting. I literally just had this conversation like 2 weeks ago with someone. The title of this was talking about breaking boundaries, right? Well, you got to establish some.
Mm,
That's the first thing. You really have to establish some boundaries. If you
right.
are in a space where you're working 45, 50, 55 plus hours a week because your supervisor, your manager is piling tons of work on you to the point where that's what it takes for you to be able to get it done.
Like it's a new normal, but it's
Right,
not
it
because
is. But what's happening is you are doing yourself a disservice, and they are never, because what's happening is they're trying to pile the work of multiple people onto a single person, and that can only change if you stop it. Now, I'm not saying, be disrespectful. I'm not
right,
saying
right.
be combative, but what you do is, one of the things that you can do is when your supervisor or your manager brings you a new assignment and you're already full to the gills, and they bring you a new assignment, then you just simply say, okay, you when do you need this? First of all, find out, like, kind of when do they need that done, and if you don't think that you can get to it in that time frame, then say, okay, I'm working on these things over here. Which of these do you want me to let go of?
Yeah, they cut all these information, but here you are saying it in a very simplistic form. I love it. But this person is driving all this emotion is in them, but it's not coming out. How are they need to step back and even further? But that's when you probably, I'm assuming they're gonna need some more support on and guidance on how to channel, how to vocalize that so they don't be combative, or they're finding that they're being offensive or just disrupting and being out of the way of being diplomatic about it. What would be the approach for those saying, as much as I would love to see myself tell my boss or my manager that, when do you need it? Okay. And then if they say they need it in 2 more hours and you're sitting there just saying, really? And then you don't say anything.
Yeah, it's that's when it comes into, you have to do some inner work, right?
Yeah.
You have to start shifting your mindset. You have to start working on working from a place of being able to stand up for yourself. And I believe you me, I totally get it, because I operated in that was me. And I finally got to a place where enough was enough. And I started with a conversation with my supervisor and said, listen, because I was on leave and I got so many, I was out for 2 days, 2 days. The world was not going to fall apart in 2 days.
Like, what happened from when I
was only out for 2 days, and I had so many calls and text messages during those 2 days. I'm like, I needed some rest. And when I came back, I said, listen, I am all for being able to support you all. If I'm out of the office and there's an emergency, I have no problems being available to handle an emergency. I said, however, this is what happened. I got blah, blah, blah. And I ran down all the different things. And I said, when I take time off, it is so that I can be refreshed and renewed, so that I can be the best version of myself when I'm in this office. And if I don't get that time, then I can't bring that here. So I just kind of framed it in a place, but I had some distance between it, right? I didn't do it on Friday after I had gotten the 5th or 6th phone call.
Right there, because some people will emotionally respond back right then and there.
Right.
What's that practice or that habit, aka habit, that they would need to instill before seeing that text message or that email and immediately respond?
24 hours. I give myself at least 24 hours before I, if I have a heated, if I'm emotional about something, and I literally just went through this last weekend. I had gotten an email that riled me up emotionally, and I was like, and I drafted my response.
Yeah.
And then I let it sit for 24 hours and came back to it.
That's good.
When I had an opportunity for my emotions to settle down, to make sure that the email didn't sound like I was responding out of emotion, that I was responding professionally. And then I also ran it by someone who I trusted.
That's good.
To make sure that it sounded well.
I like that. And I know there's a lot of folks who a lot of people, a lot of high achievers too, they have a hard time doing that. Because I know I talk to them all the time. They struggle with that part, or even maybe not even respond back, because they may be afraid to or don't know
Yeah.
how to. And if they do respond back, they didn't respond in the way that it was
Right.
received. Right.
And and I haven't always been, this is new for me.
Yeah.
I'll be honest and vulnerable. This is new for me. I only started speaking up for myself in the last 2 years. And it was because I started realizing that I was living my life. I was doing my business for everyone else. I was living my life for
Tell
everyone
me.
else. I was walking in the expectations of others and
Yes.
not embracing and shoving down my wants, my desires, my needs. And I had come to a place where I was exposed to what was available to me. And that exposure made me realize, I'm like, no, I do want that.
Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
the life that I desire. And in order for me to get it, I have to start speaking up and asking for what I want and what I need.
I like
And
that.
then I had to be able to make the decision that if the people in my life weren't able to respond in a way and give me what I was asking for or accept my needs, then I was forced to make a decision that was best for me.
That's good. And I know we were talking about doing 5 ways, but these top 2 is a lot to unpack
Critical.
when it comes to
Yeah.
habit, when it comes to planning, and just how do you break through. I do believe that we have to form something in the imagination realm first, and then add
Absolutely.
some willpower before you even exercise it in the real, in this frame, this plane that we live in today, the reality, the physical part, right?
Yeah, I
How do
definitely
one,
think we need to come
yeah,
back and
yeah,
touch on the other aspects, because there's
yeah,
really a lot to unpack when it comes to really and truly we could have a conversation one by one
yeah.
of each of the five things, because it really, in order for you to really see the shifts and the differences, you have to really kind of take step outside of yourself and take a more what's the word I'm looking for, um, kind of get out of the weeds of it all, right? You have to take
Yeah.
that more bird's eye view of a
Mm.
situation than being in it. That's
And
not the
being
word I
in
was looking for, but that works.
No, and that's good. We can even wrap up right there when it comes to how do you even know what emotionally, what some people do. A lot of them do. They say, Ruth, I'm just frustrated. I'm furiated. And I just, instead of them having to be able to have that vocal or that audio to share, I think they may need to do this, like you said, finding support or doing it in their mind first, right?
Yeah.
Being able to form so that way they can then create that will, to which means the will, that it's so many faculties that's involved. And I wish we could unpack it some more, but we definitely would love to see how we, if you all are liking this, we definitely want to be able to make this more on a constant basis, because it's vital. There's at least 80% of the folks that I speak to on a monthly basis, because there are hundreds of them, they're stating the same thing. I'm just not sure how to open up to certain leadership or people who are more upper authority than them. They're just piling their work because they're the go-to person, but they're just split thin and not sure how to set those boundaries and say it in such a way that they're still going to be honored, because they're valuable. You are
Right.
worthy, but somehow or
Absolutely.
another, you're not seeing yourself as such. So we're going to close there. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to be wrapping this up. I'm thinking, if this is definitely resonating with you all, if y'all want to follow Trasetta, definitely do so. Trasetta, share with them how they can be able to get in touch with you. Like what platforms, even that's outside of LinkedIn, we can definitely see what we're doing.
Well, LinkedIn is where I play the most. So this is the best place to connect with me. But you can also follow me on Instagram at Trasetta Anel. Or go to my website, trasettaanel.com. I do have a free resource, Take Your Life Back. And I really talk you through the 3 steps that you can take in
Share
order
that
to,
do you have it available? Can you share that in the comments right here on LinkedIn? You all let us know if this is helpful and if this is beneficial for you. Definitely let us,
to the comments.
you can either do it.
But I don't see where I can comment.
Can you not comment? I'm looking at my comments. You clicking on the far right and then you
Yeah, no,
see.
I'm in the comments, but I don't see where I can actually type a comment in.
Oh, maybe it's not enabled. Can you? Let's just do it on your phone for now.
Okay.
We'll
Yeah, I'll
play
go
around with it.
and
We're doing this streaming, so the streaming may not be available to you, but if you can just do it through your other device, that way people who are
I will do
resonating
that.
with you, they have ways to connect and take advantage of your ways to connect with you and
Oh,
follow you.
sorry.
You're good.
The
Oh, it's
see if I
probably a
can- there we go.
no worries, no worries. Let us know how this has been helpful for you all. This has absolutely been an eye breaker for me because I too, like I relate with you, Trasetta, that I too have been there. So it's not as though this is all me just talking. I've been doing this for 20 or 30 plus years. No,
Yeah.
you know, defining all this, we'll definitely unpack it. We'll even leave on, you know, for the time being, what would be the major thing that you want someone to just hone into when it comes to forming that habit so they can break through some of those limitations?
I want to close out with this quote from Brene Brown's book, Dare to Lead, because I feel like the way we kind of close out the conversation about how people tend to be a little bit nervous about having these conversations. And this quote, I read this book at the beginning of the pandemic, and this quote from the book has lived with me ever since. And it is, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." So,
Ooh.
meaning the very thing that you are afraid to do or to go after
Mm-hmm.
is the direction that you should go in order for you to find that fulfillment and all the things that you really desire.
I love it. That is
This
a
fear
powerful
is
way.
essentially an indicator that you're going in the right direction.
This was amazing. Thank you so much. That right there resonated with me, and I too want to go ahead and add it to my top list of amazing quotes. That was powerful. I hope that it felt the same way that it came through the lines for you all that was able to join. And again, go ahead and share this. And if you haven't been able to follow or connect with myself and Trasetta, this is a perfect opportunity to do so because you don't want to miss the next time that we're going live. So you'll be one of the first to know when we'll be back. In the meantime, have an amazing evening. We'll see you again. And remember this, always know to put your best foot forward. Do not allow your past to hinder your future. If anything, hold on to that image and in your future hands and see how it transforms. Till next time, my friends, cheers.